Hey, what's up? I've had this video on the back burner for like 5 months, maybe, and yeah, I haven't gotten it out because I need to keep up a consistent upload schedule about the thing that people watch me for, or else YouTube won't promote me anymore. So I've decided that I'm gonna put this out now after it's already starting to do that again. Anyway, cool. Fucking enjoy the video.
行くよ太郎丸
Spoiler alert, School Live is significantly more entertaining if watched completely and utterly blind. I will be spoiling close to everything that occurs in the anime during this video. If you're at all interested in maintaining the sanctity of your viewing experience, click away now. Cool, are the ones that care about spoilers gone? Oh great, now I'm stuck with you guys. So your first thought if you're a returning viewer is, hey, Das, why the fuck are you talking about anime? And the answer to that is money. This video was a patron suggestion by Alex Aristale, who saw my other two videos on anime, being about Girls Last Tour, my favorite anime and show of all time, and elected to show me one of his favorite anime and shows of all time. Thank you for the money and for the suggestion. Anyways, so let's get this started. School Live, not School Live, it's not an idol anime, it's called that because they're living in school, you know? School Live is a slice of life show with a cast of 4-ish anime girls living out their happy days as they partake in their club, the School Living Club, focused on a lifestyle where the students spend every second in school, living there. Sounds like the dream for absolutely nobody except for Yuki, who is so outrageously bright it's a shocker she doesn't melt the eyes of everyone around her with her sheer Genki aura. The entire first episode takes place as Yuki explores around her school on a regular day, going to classes, talking with her friends and clubmates, the clubmates and friends being Yuri, the one they make tit jokes about because this is an anime, what did you expect, them to not make tit jokes about a minor? Kurumi, the one with a shovel who looks like one of the forgettable background characters from a Death Game anime, and Miki, the tomboy who is absolutely not gay. We promise she's totally straight. Totally. Yep. Either way, the entire first episode goes about as peachy and boring as you'd expect. Nothing really occurs. Why was I paid to watch this again? Like, I mean, it's just a slice of life anime. Look at this. And it's not a very good one at that. Do I really have to keep watching this? I mean, for real, is that a grave in the background? Why are the students doing that on the track? Okay. Yeah, that's why. Haha, yeah. Rug pulled, kinda. It tells you on every piece of promotional material, it's almost like it's the main selling point of the show. But Yuki, the main character, is suffering from a form of psychotic break, where she constantly sees a delusion of a perfect life where her best friends live with her in school and her classmates are all her friends. In truth, yeah, those are zombies. Her best friends live with her in school because it's a zombie apocalypse and all of her classmates are dead. And the reason why Yuki has these delusions is because she is so thoroughly traumatized by her situation that her brain has decided to block it all out and replace it with the slice of life anime that I've been watching for 18 some odd minutes now. We see hints of this with windows that are suddenly shown to be broken as soon as they leave Yuki's cone of vision, as well as Miki not really respecting the school rules set out by just barging into classes when they're supposed to be having class. Also, every other student besides a few are monochrome cutouts and seemingly appear out of nowhere, like these ones, who they only recognize after she points them out, and who weren't here in the wide shots. Now, to start off the review portion, this is a baller fucking concept. Zombies as a whole are scary, especially when the survivor's only real weapon is a shovel held by a teenage girl with twin tails. But mix that together with a cast member who has no idea what she's seeing, and you end up with a gang of characters wholly unfit to survive a zombie apocalypse. From a genre parody standpoint, it doesn't really seem to want to point out the flaws of slice of life anime. It more just seems to want to be one with an interesting twist. I guess it does kind of alleviate to the existence of escapist media in an interesting way with the delusion, but that doesn't really feel intentional. But I'll get to the bad parts of the slice of life genre and how it applies to School Live a bit later. For the next couple of episodes, we are introduced to various aspects of the plot. The party of 4 lives in their school, which is oddly livable with a literal rooftop garden and fish pond. The bottom floor is mostly compromised on account of the the zombies, and the party dynamics go like this. Yuri does all the boring stuff and is the big sister, if you couldn't tell by her design being what it is. Kurumi hits the zombies with the shovel sometimes, and Miki is the new one who's not very familiar with the situation, and Yuki keeps them all sane and is the designated liability. Oh yeah, and Taromaru. He's the dog, and his job is to be expendable. We get these moe blobs thrown into harm's way on a series of occasions in the following episodes. For example, in episode 2, as they descend into the basement for a supply run disguised as a test of courage against ghosts. Of course, they're not actually ghosts. They're zombies, her dead classmates. This show's kind of fucked, by the way. Oh yeah, before we get started, I should probably explain who this is. This is Megumi Sakura, or Megune, because that's what everybody else calls her in the show. She is a teacher at the school and the founder of the School Living Club. In reality, she was just the only adult these kids had and had to make something up to keep Yuki stable. Currently, she's a character that accompanies Yuki to keep her out of trouble and gets ignored a lot. What a funny and definitely innocent bit. Anyways, in the meantime, Yuki almost gets eaten by a zombie as her and Megune cower in a library. Fucked up. Oh yeah, I forgot to mention, again, while the animation isn't the best, the music in this show is fucking nuts. Same with the sound design, absolute top quality shit, really sells the horror. The zombies all make really believable sounds with gasps and grunts that almost sound like they're about to cry, and there's little touches here and there that really make the delusion stick by showing the cracks. It's all very well done, and in terms of the music, it's also very well done, and I'll be using the tracks from the show in the background the whole time. So we have the setup for the show now. 4 girls run around a zombie apocalypse explaining their tragic backstories and flashbacks and trying to survive as well as stay sane. And still have enough time for a beach episode at some point. Cool, but I wouldn't be telling you about this show if that was all there was. Well, I would, but, still. I wouldn't be recommending that you watch it if that was all there was. So spoilers for the actual entire rest of the series. After a few episodes where we learn about the backstory of Miki and how completely and totally straight she is for her best friend Kei, who is definitely dead, and her emotional connection to the fucking dog, we eventually are given my favorite sequence in the entire series, as Miki is brought back from the mall and has to deal with Yuki without knowing about her delusions. Hilarity ensues. Yuki and Megune attempt to teach her about school, but she only seems disturbed and confused the more Yuki says. Little sound cues make this scene a lot more chilling, as you're shown just how horrifying a delusion is thick and palpable as this can be. This is the show at its best, when it's showing how scary it can be to watch someone look through something. This is psychological horror. The scene spirals downwards with a really cool scene where she hands the radio to Megune and it begins to malfunction, before Miki eventually asks Yuki who Megune is. If you were paying attention to the anime, I haven't given you that many hints, so don't feel bad, you may or may not have noticed a few of the small things showing up around the place. Megune seems to just vanish from scenes sometimes, appearing out of dead angles where there is no clear entrance to the room. Nobody else seems to speak with her alone. She's only ever seen in shots with Yuki. Yeah, as it happens, this bitch dead as hell, arguably. Yuki didn't hand off the radio or that water bottle. She dropped them onto the floor. The radio broke as it clattered against the ground. You can hear the water bottle hit the floor in this scene. This character, who we've been suspecting through perfect little moments consistently through the whole series, has in fact been dead the whole time. She's the one who's buried on the roof. Well, she's not buried, but we'll get to that. The grave we saw in the very first episode was hers. This show kills it sometimes, it being its characters in the past tense, but it does stuff like this really well. But you know how reviews are paced, don't you? It's time we talk about the stuff the show does not so great. And what a convenient time to do so as well, because after episode 6, things go downhill quality-wise. So after that absolute bombshell of a twist that was perfectly set up to, executed, and the mere existence of it makes past scenes significantly more frightening. Like, hey, do you remember that scene that I talked about where Yuki was hugging onto Megu while trying to stay quiet to not get eaten alive by a zombie? Yeah, fucked up how she was just alone, hugging onto a vision of her dead teacher. Neat. Anyway, after that incredible plot beat, the author makes a mistake. Alright, now it's time for me to talk about the obvious. The show is not very well animated. There are a few scenes that look very sloppy, and the stills are not awful most of the time, but even in the super emotional moments, the entire show just looks flat, and the animation is never actually good at all. The cinematography is good. It's got good directorial chops. There are some shots in this show that blow my mind. like this one from the OP, for example, but the actual stuff that you're looking at just isn't up to snuff most of the time, unless it's showing the zombies, then it's pretty solid. Additionally, I could describe every one of the characters in 2 sentences and you'd probably get it. For one of them, I would actively struggle to come up with more than that. The main things that makes this show good as a horror anime is the concept and the sense of poignant danger, as well as the slow burn reveal of how deep the delusion goes. Now, the things that make a slice of life anime good are pleasant characters that are complicated enough to have depth to them, an emotional core that keeps you invested, and pleasant visuals to look at in the meantime. So when I tell you that episode 7, half of episode 8, and almost all of episode 9 leans hard into slice of life with only a solid 10 to 15 minutes of the content that we're actually here for, you understand why I can't really give this show too much praise. Now, I will fully admit, they drop a bombshell again. That's why I mentioned episode 8 being good most of the time. Spoilers again, in episode 8, it is revealed that the reason why the school is so livable is because the entire apocalypse was actually a bioweapon, and if it got out, there was a plan to lock down the school and keep the survivors alive. There's an entire underground bunker filled with medicine. But as cool and as revelatory as that twist is, I can't give it too much credit, because the show follows up with 20 minutes of unbroken beach episode. Do you remember what I said? From a genre parody standpoint, it doesn't really seem to want to point out the flaws of slice of life anime. It more just seems to want to be one with an interesting twist. The reality of this point really rears its ugly head here. There's a lot of shots that are framed to seemingly specifically want you to ogle the school-age protagonists. Even the sound design seems to perv on them. The entire episode is full of shots that point out the curves of these girls, one of which is mentally unstable, and the others of which are fighting for their lives in a zombie apocalypse, all of this occurring not more than 30 feet away from the gravesite of their dead teacher. They could lean on this with some disturbing cinematography showing the zombies, for example, hearing the noises from the roof, or a looming shot of Megune's grave with them in the background showing how her death still haunts them even in their most happy moments, but it doesn't do that. I'll talk more about this in my conclusion, but this is a big problem for the series and kills a lot of the dramatic tension for me. Luckily though, it gets right back to horror, and the show's mojo comes right on back at the end of episode 9, as the designated emotional sacrifice dog runs down to the basement after hearing a response to his howl. The dog, looking for Poontang, finds some, but not the one that he was expecting, as he finds the zombified body of Megune, as a distorted version of her theme plays the whole time. Yeah, baby, now we're back to the horror shit. That's what I'm here for. After this, Kurumi goes down to follow the dog in episode 10, before seeing that he has been bitten. They killed the dog, everyone. Who could have seen this coming? She then goes for Megune with a shovel, but freezes up and ends up bitten. Dramatic stakes at last. For the next couple episodes, it's revealed that not only is Kurumi slowly being zombified, but Yuki's delusion is slowly deteriorating, as she actually notices that a window is broken, all the while the zombies break down the barricade and rush into the school. The girls are now not only anchored in place to help their infected friend, but now zombies are in their house with them, and Yuki is completely alone. These are some good-ass stakes. Man, that dramatic pause sure got you to think that they'd pull some bullshit and I'd have to criticize it. Yeah, no, they do everything more or less well. The one that doesn't have a distinguished backstory contemplates killing her friend, as Miki runs into the basement to find the medicine, and ends up finishing off a zombified Megune with a shovel to the head, gnarly. She then moves forward to find probably the most quiet and disturbing twist that we've seen yet. Miki finds Megune's journal in a very subtle scene, and it's scribbled with all of their names. She has been writing their names constantly to remind her zombified mind of what matters. She's still in there. Even worse, the box that contains the cure for early infected individuals has fingerprints on the lid. Bloody fingerprints. Now, I'm a grown-ass man. I can fully admit that fingerprints scared me. These fingerprints fucked me up, because it implies that a bloodied Megune made her way down here, and in her hazy zombified state, attempted so desperately to cure herself, but wasn't able to. This is good visual horror. It's just a drawing, but it tells you so fucking much. In the final episode, a non-delusional Yuki heads to the broadcasting room led by the literal ghost of Megune. She's a ghost. She makes it to the broadcasting room, almost dies, and then gets saved by the zombie dog, which I honestly don't like too much, but it's fine. She takes the zombie dog into the broadcasting room and gives a final speech about how much she loves her school and tells every zombie that school is out. And oddly, they listen. They leave. Miki is saved from being eaten, Kurumi and Yuri both don't get ripped to shreds, and Yuki's fine. This is a pretty fucked up ending, and a lot of people seem to think that it's a cop-out, and I'll admit it kinda is, but it was at least kind of built up too properly. It wasn't out of left field. They could have killed off a character here, but this plan worked. As I mentioned earlier, the zombies are still in there. They're still sentient. Students go to school. Yuki mentions how the adults have to go to work. Now, they don't do any work, presumably. I doubt there's zombie accounting. But they go to places they recognize and wander around there at those times of the day. Megune was found in the evacuation shelter in the basement. So when a bunch of students hear that school's out, they leave school. It's not a perfect ending. I would have preferred more notable consequences, but it's functional. Wait, what do you mean, no notable consequences? What about the girl who is infected and is currently found morbing under a sheet next to that girl who can't bring herself to kill her friend? Well, as it happens, she's still in early infection, and apparently so was the dog, so the medicine worked. Cool. The girl lived her tragically background important zombie encounter too. And so now the dog likes her and is cuddling up, and oh, that's kind of sad. Wait, what? The dog is dead again? They killed the dog twice? Most zombie media only does it once, but they made this fucker to suffer. Punish Taromaru. He got infected, came back, and died again. Yeah, okay. So they bury him next to Megune, who isn't actually buried there. She's a pile of gore in the basement. Yeah, but they bury him with Yuki's hat, the symbol of her delusion, which is now bloodied in a pretty cool visual metaphor. They then leave their compromised school, which was framed as a graduation ceremony, to find a new place to school live. Hopefully free of whatever the fuck keeps breaking all the windows. Anyway, that's my synopsis. Time for the full final opinions. I've mentioned what the show does well. The sound design is great, the concept is great, the world building is solid, the way they show off psychological horror is fantastic. But it's more fun to complain, and I've been singing its praises for almost the entire video so far, except for those times where I wasn't. The experience of watching this show is kind of like eating a 3-course meal at a packed restaurant alone. You're there to eat, and the restaurant is present. It's still there when you're waiting for the next course. But what you're really there for is the food. Every plot beat, every slice of life moe moment, is just a second in that restaurant waiting for your food to get here, for the next fucked up thing to happen. It treats the slice of life moments like they're the ideal, they're what we're supposed to want, but it's not what we want. Realistically, the viewer is there for the twist on the genre. The zombies, not the slice of life. We're there to see the delusion break or be challenged, and to see the zombies fuck up another aspect of these girls' lives. So it ends up that we and the characters don't want the same thing. We want them to encounter a zombie and have to split open its head with a shovel and watch Yuki have a panic attack in the corner. We don't want to watch another 10 minutes of a fucking beach episode. But the show's telling us that the life that they want to protect is what we don't want to see. That's the main problem. If you can't get attached to the characters, then the main thing you want to see is them suffering because the alternative is so boring compared to how good the suspenseful, dread-filled horror scenes are. I've heard that the manga is significantly darker, and the chances are that it's got better visuals too. So I might recommend to read that if you're still interested in the story moving forwards. It was given very high praise when it was recommended to me. But then you do miss out on the parts that the anime genuinely excels at, the sound design, pacing, background art, and voice acting. But overall, how you digest this show is up to you. Thank you to Alex Aristel for the recommendation. Despite my complaints, it was a joy to watch 11 episodes out of 12. And thank you all for watching this video. Click the social validation buttons, give me your money on Patreon if you want me to make a video about a thing that you want to talk about, and I will see you all in the next one.